Jen, what are the questions we got?
All right. It looks like we got another specific question from Lon regarding valuation. So he said, in India, we have 4 potential clients with 1 LOI. How should I value my startup? How do I get precedent? They want him to be successful.
Okay, so I've got the quick and dirty answer. Becca, you've got the educational chops. You're a lot smarter at this than I would be, because Goldman Sachs, like, that's just the world that you live in. How should startups approach valuation?
It's definitely not as scientific as you may like to hear, especially now. Valuations have really changed quite a bit, largely due to the funding environment that we've been in, or the macroeconomic environment. It also is very industry specific. So if you've got an LOI, I don't know how big that business could be, that if that's kind of spelled out in the LOI, but that could be significant. If it's not, if it's a smaller kind of partnership, then that may not be something that you can use as a core basis for your valuation. Usually there are two, in my kind of old school approach, there are 2 approaches to valuation. There's one, you create financial projections into the future and you discount them back to present value. That's one way to do it. It kind of fell out of favor just because of the general environment. The second way is to use comps or comparables. So you take other companies that are in your industry and you look at what the valuations have been historically, and you come up with an implied valuation for your business. With the adoption of safes, which you're really deferring the valuation into the future, those approaches have sort of gone away for the short term. So I don't know where you are in the business right now, if you're just getting started, but if you have an LOI and 4 potential clients, I would want to put together those projections, because you're going to have a lot more confidence in those projections because you've got the LOI.
I think it comes down to, which is the reason I appreciate, Becca, you mentioning those 3 avenues. Founders should do the work of going through each and loading their brains up to have a negotiation, because if you are not in revenue, it's very difficult to be taken seriously in many ways. And investors will have different rubrics to do your valuation, and then it becomes a negotiation. So if you can figure that out, and I do corroborate that, totally support what Becca said. The last time that I had to have an official valuation done on my company outside of my negotiation was because of a breakout, okay? Because like I was having a nasty divorce and we had to figure all these things out. So we brought in a firm and they used the comparables method. So they went out, and here's how you do it. You go out and you look at financial reports from publicly traded companies that have disclosed, and you say, if we get to that point in time, we should be worth X amount of dollars. So what makes sense for the investor now to say, based on how much money you've raised and your LOIs and how much business you're doing, what makes sense for the investor to own based on their money, 10%, 20% of the company, knowing that you have a small chance, you can stack it and rank it in your favor to get to that publicly traded company. But that's really your argument is, what if we do become a publicly traded company and we get this massive and huge? Well, then you're going to be this rich. If you put in $1 million right now, you're going to walk away with 300 million, later on type thing. So when you're at the early stage, because I know the founder asking the question, when you're at this early stage, it comes down to negotiation, your negotiation skills, but do what Becca says. So you've got backup with math on why you're justifying your valuation. Anything else to throw in there, Becca?
I 100% agree. And to your point about the public company, so if you look at an annual report of a public company, even if they don't disclose at the sort of the beginning of the report, a lot of times in the financials, they'll have to disclose what they paid for an acquisition. So just be willing to dig in a little bit, because that can be very, very valuable. If you read a press release about an acquisition, they don't always say what the terms are or what the acquirer paid. But if you look in that annual report, sometimes you may find it in there.